Gary Fries has spent his entire professional life on the front lines of radio as a salesperson, general manager, group head, and a network president. With first-hand sales experience in markets from Grand Island, Nebraska to New York City. And today, this Nebraska native has become one of the most influential figures in the radio advertising industry. Gary Roland Fries was born and raised in Nebraska. He attended Southeast High School in Lincoln, where he met the woman he would eventually marry, Linda Bastian. Coincidentally, Gary also met longtime friend Dick Young during his years at Southeast.
As it turns out, Gary and his wife, now Linda, and my wife, Ruthie, we ended up double dating in high school and through college, and have been friends ever since.
Gary was a gregarious young man, active on the high school swim team, although not the best student to attend Southeast. His high school advisors had no qualms with letting him know this.
Our advisor recommended to both of us not to go to college because we'd never make it. And so that may have been one of the spurring things that pushed him on, and probably me too. But
Gary had a different vision for his future, but he set out to prove his advisors wrong. He attended UNL after high school graduation, choosing business administration as his major course of study. Roger Dodson recalls meeting Gary in a class they shared.
While I was not a good biology student, Gary's wife was a good biology student, and Gary was a pathetic biology student. So actually, Linda and I really got Gary through biology.
As it turns out, Roger helped Gary with more than his biology homework by informing him of a job lead at KFOR as a salesperson. Gary eagerly applied for the position and was hired by Roger Larson, KFOR's general manager at the time. Mr. Larson remembers watching Gary grow professionally.
When he first came to KFOR, of course, he was quite young, and he picked up maturity fast and became a lot more serious about his work, and I could see that development.
It was during this time that Stuart Broadcasting, the company which owned KFOR, was acquiring new stations, one of them being KRGI in Grand Island. Stuart Broadcasting's president, Dick Chapin, was quickly impressed with Gary's professional style. In 1964, he decided to send Gary out to Grand Island to help get KRGI off the ground, a position that not only proved his skills as a manager, but also made him a bit of a local hero.
There was an enormous flood in Grand Island, and the radio station under his leadership really took a leadership role, and they really performed the kind of service radio is supposed to perform, and the community became very supportive of the radio station and of him.
Gary stayed with KRGI for 3 years before moving on to another Stuart station, WMAY in Springfield, Illinois. Although Gary hasn't forgotten his years at KRGI.
Gary has told me recently in some visits that Grand Island maybe had been the best job he ever had in his life, that he was making good money way back then, 30 years ago, and he was a big man in a small community, and he liked it real well.
After a brief stint as owner of a minor league hockey team, Gary moved on to various general management positions which took him to Springfield, Omaha, Little Rock, Phoenix, and finally Albuquerque. Gary had honed his management skills so well by this point that he was selected as president of Sunbelt Broadcasting in Seattle in 1985. This new leadership role served Gary well.
He's always been kind of looking forward to what's next, what can I do next? And he's always on the move, always has ideas.
Gary's desire to constantly move forward led him to the post of president of Unistar Radio Networks in Colorado Springs, where he and his wife Linda now have their permanent home. It wasn't long before an even bigger opportunity came knocking at Gary's door. It was in 1991, and the Radio Advertising Bureau was looking for a president that could breathe new life into the defunct organization. The RAB chose Gary.
He was chosen unanimously by everybody with a very positive feeling, and I was very, very amazed at that, and I think that's a real compliment to him.
As president of the RAB, Gary has won the respect of broadcasters across the United States, and helped bring RAB membership up from a recessionary low of 2,200 stations to roughly 3,500. The organization's list of accomplishments under Gary's leadership is endless. The RAB has embraced the Mercury Awards for creative writing in radio and expanded training programs in radio marketing. They've also organized the Radio Industry Executive Partnership to make sales pitches representing the entire industry. These endeavors would not have been possible without Gary's outstanding leadership.
Gary has given the Radio Advertising Bureau some new life. Gary is very aggressive, and he took the job and landed on a dead run, and has given the Radio Advertising Bureau a new direction and a new impetus.
His position is a demanding one, with an office in New York City and presenting speeches all across the nation. He spends whatever time he can with his wife in their Colorado Springs home. Linda is very supportive of him, despite the time that they must spend away from each other.
She's been a great asset to him. She's a very solid individual, been a great mother. They've raised 3 fine boys. So it's a good family life for him, too.
It is often said by his friends and colleagues that Gary Fries is a man with a vision, one that began with his first job at KFOR, and since then has helped him emerge as one of the radio industry's clearest, most determined voices.
Gary is an example of a Nebraskan who started at the very bottom of the broadcast industry and has moved to the very top, and certainly has represented the industry well and made us all proud that he's a Nebraskan.
I am enthusiastic to see that the Nebraska Broadcasters Association wishes to provide that kind of recognition for someone who is so currently and dynamically involved in helping our industry.
The Nebraska Broadcasters Association is proud to recognize Gary Fries in the Hall of Fame.